Are you ready to take your business to the next level? Every day there are countless books and articles that are published offering the key on how to make your business a success. It's easy to feel overwhelmed trying to keep up and run your business. That's why Deb Creer created the Business Power Hour. Keep up on the latest trends, best practices, and techniques for how to make your business a success. Let the Business Power Hour do the heavy work for you.
Good morning, good morning. I am Deb Creer, and I am passionate about giving professionals the tools that they need to make themselves and their businesses as successful as possible. And today, we're going to have so much fun because we're going to be talking about that stuff between your ears, and how to make sure that we're truly going in the right direction and following our passions, and what to do when things get a little whopper-jawed, like, maybe in a pandemic. But please join me in welcoming Tamara Wolfe to our program today. Welcome, Tamara. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great, Deb. So great to be with you.
Perfect. I love it. Well, let me tell people a little bit about you, and then we will jump in. So Tamara Wolfe is a certified life mastery coach, certified neuro coach and neuro leader, mindset and results expert, author, speaker, and owner of Full Spectrum Living. She comes to her coaching with a background as a movement psychotherapist and 20 years as a business leader and sales mentor. As a coach, Tamara specializes in helping business leaders and solopreneurs up-level in business and personal life, unlocking their true potential, accelerating their results, and creating richer, fuller lives. She is a sought-after speaker offering inspiring webinars, live events, my gosh, do we do those? And keynote speeches. So again, Tamara, welcome.
It's so wonderful to be here, Deb. I'm excited to share with everyone today.
Great. Well, I always like to know how it is that my guests got to where they are today, because it all ties in, and I think it's so interesting. So tell us a little bit more about how you discovered this as your passion in life.
Absolutely. So you heard my background a little bit. I was a therapist, mind-body connection, and insurance was controlling the game at that point. And I was led to looking at more of the wellness piece, preventing people from coming in, right, to the hospital kind of setting. And it was during that time that I stumbled upon direct selling and a business in Mary Kay, where I had been using the product, but never in the world thought I would be doing something like that. But it was perfect because I had a family with kids and small kids, and I was looking for something that I could do to stay in the game. And I loved that I could have the flexibility to be home, but also run a business with a product that I loved.
Right.
And one of my things that I aspire to pretty quickly is moving up in leadership. So as a leader, I moved up in leadership pretty quickly and loved what I did. I was mentoring a team. I was bringing in leadership skills. I was helping people run their businesses, and I loved the flexibility. But for years, I started having that pull of, there's more. There's more that I could give, kind of be out beyond my team. And it was during that time I was getting some neuroscience coaching. It was kind of a cutting edge thing that was happening. And I was mentoring my team in that. And I loved the whole idea of recognizing that, we can learn a business, but if we don't understand the mindset or how that we manage our mindset, it can create stuck points where you can't get beyond. And so what was happening for me was I myself got to a place where I was feeling stuck, that there's something more, but this whole idea of good being the enemy of great was kind of pulling me. I loved what I did. I loved mentoring. I loved why would I be having this pull for more? But it got very clear and loud, and I'll kind of condense it because I could share a lot there. But what happened was one day I was literally getting out of my car to go see a peer of mine, and my inner voice, I think we can all relate to an inner voice if we pay attention. Right.
We ignore that little thing.
And that's what I had been doing. It's a great point. I had been hearing whispers, but I was pushing it down for a long time. And this voice, it got very clear that day. Stop. And it woke me up and it brought me to tears. I said, okay, you caught me.
Mm-hmm.
I got to do something here because
Mm-hmm.
I do want to do something different, but I'm
Mm-hmm.
not sure what that might be.
Mm-hmm.
I was then made a decision to start looking and being aware, either give me more passion for what I'm doing, because I
Mm-hmm.
was a leader.
Right.
I had a
Mm-hmm.
big team. Give me more passion for it, or there's something else.
Mm-hmm.
And it was during that time that I then had a kind of a physical kind of thing that happened. And I do
Mm-hmm.
believe it was because I had been pushing down for a while.
Mm-hmm.
And that was a wake up call.
Right.
So with that, it gave me that push to
Mm-hmm.
find what was next. And I was led to my now mentor at an event to get clarity.
Mm.
So I'm going to emphasize we all need clarity on where we want to go
Right.
in order to make a shift. And
Mm-hmm.
that's where I was getting a little fuzzy. I needed that
Mm-hmm.
vision to be clear. And so it was at this event with my now mentor that I got clear
Mm-hmm.
and didn't know the name of it, Deb. This was the thing. I had no idea. My husband had actually talked about life coaching a year before. And I
Mm-hmm.
was like, oh, no, that's not
Right. That's no. Mm-hmm.
exactly like it's got to be my idea. I guess that was
Mm-hmm.
part of it.
Mm-hmm.
But it was during that event that I found out about this coaching and
Mm-hmm.
speaking, that really the whole bottom line in the kind of coaching that really connected was helping people really connect with their passion and purpose
Mm-hmm.
so they could really step into living
Mm-hmm.
up their best life, bringing it into the vocation arena, making sure they understood that in personal life. Because when we're aligned,
Mm-hmm.
right, with passion and purpose, everything gets easier and you feel most alive.
Right.
And that's what, and I almost said no. I almost said, oh, I can't do that because
Mm-hmm.
I'm already on this path.
Mm-hmm.
The timing's not right. But that inner voice, I'm going to come back to that intuition
Mm-hmm.
that plays a big part here. That inner voice said, you at least find out,
Mm-hmm.
because if you go home, you're going to feel like you're still dying inside.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody ever felt that way, right?
Right. Mm-hmm.
Feel that.
Mm-hmm.
And so I stepped over the line. I invested, and despite all the fears,
Mm-hmm.
I'm so glad, I stepped in.
Right. I love it. So I want to talk more about that inner voice, because like we all have it,
Yes.
and the funny thing is, it's kind of the little devil, the little angel, right? And because so many times the inner voice is saying, "Oh no, you can't do that," and much of the time that's based on our life, and it comes, I think, from so many experience that we have, whether it's the "don't touch that, that will hurt you," that somebody tells you, or and okay, and how many times do we still touch and go, "Oh yeah, ouch." But it comes from our external voices. It comes from our parents, our teachers, who in many cases mean well. They want to protect us. Oh, girls can't do that. I mean, you and I are the same generation. Oh no, you really want to go to school for what? And oh no, you can't do that. You can't do this. And again, they mean well, but that little inner voice sticks in our head. So but it is very important, as you said. It's also telling us, you need to do something. You need to, are you fulfilled? All of those things. So how do we have those conversations with our inner voice that are productive conversations?
Well, it's kind of the core of what I do, because as children coming along, none of us were trained in the fact that we get to choose what we let in.
Right.
So you're exactly right. We create this, we call them paradigms. It's a big word for those limiting beliefs. And those become embedded, and we don't even know that they're underlying, I call them down here in the subconscious, underlying every decision, every act that we're taking. And so unless we're aware, we're going on what I call the automatic pilot. And we're going through our lives. Someone might have told us, my husband, he was told, do this career because you'll always be consistent, you'll have the pay and all of that. And he just kind of went with, he never realized that he had a choice with all of that. So when I'm working, truly, when I'm working with people if you're going to change positions, if you're going to really listen to that inner voice, we got to repattern those voices that are speaking to you at a level that's going to match where you want to go. I talk a lot about with people, most of us, because it's how our brain is wired, talks to ourselves in the negative. And
you can't do that. Or worse, you're stupid, you're dumb. Why would you want to do that?
And it's consistent. It's about 85% of what we're doing each day. And so the shift begins, first of all, you got to notice that. What is that common thing that you're hearing every day? And the question is, I help people start asking, is this serving you? Well, of course that's not serving you. It's getting in the way of your, so it's repatterning. And what if today you spoke to yourself like you were your own best friend? Imagine what that would be like. You're not talking to your best friend like you're stupid, all of that. So it's learning to look at that. And so I spend a lot of time with my clients. They don't even know what they're speaking is reflecting what's going on in their mind. I always do this. I never, right? It's putting a limit. And so I'm helping. I literally have to stop and have them pause. And we say, I'm going to give you a tool that's really powerful when we catch ourselves speaking negative or going down that train of not so productive. Up until now, I was saying I'm stupid. Up until now, I felt like I didn't have the education to do this. But, and I'm going to set you, so up until now that was happening, but I'm going to set you aside right now. And I'm going to focus on what I do want to do. I always start people with, clarity of where they want to go. Focus on that. Because what we're doing is beginning to rewire the brain to be able to replace and repattern. So kind of the whole, system is when we hear ourselves going in that, the voice is coming up. You can't do that. The timing's not right. It's a big thing. Push a pause button. Imagine you have an imaginary pause button. I can pause here, take a deep breath, because we also get all fears coming up too when we're trying to do something new. When we take a good deep breath in and exhale, it calms the voices down. You can acknowledge what the voice that's not serving you is doing up until now. But right now, I'm going to put you over here. I'm not in a place where I'm going to be chased by a bear, because oftentimes we feel like we're, things scary. And now I'm going to focus on what it is that I'd like to do. And I'm going to take a step in that direction, because what the brain is going is, oh, Deb's going on a new path here.
Yikes.
She's not going down the negative train. She's going on a higher level train. This is a real simple kind of way of how we begin. And the more we do that, we start repatterning, how we're thinking. So that's a big piece of what I do.
Right. And we're not being narcissistic, and because I think so many people think, well, all we're thinking is I'm wonderful, I'm fabulous. Okay. Those are good terms, and yes, we are wonderful and we are fabulous, but there is a difference between, thinking I can do this or nobody else can do it like I can, they're all idiots, right? That, and so it's the loving portion, I think, as opposed to, the negatives that come with narcissistic behavior.
Absolutely. I just did a webinar the other day, and a woman picked up on that. She said, well, I feel like I'm being, kind of greedy if I think for more. And that's, again, that's a paradigm.
And I probably would have looked at her and said, and so why not? I mean,
So that's the paradigm. And it comes up. I always say they come up to be repatterned when we're trying to do something new. They come up like, yay, I'm here. Oh my gosh. And the brain is literally trying to protect, trying to conserve energy. So I talk about, I need to have like a paradigm puppet where we can talk to that and thank you.
Right. Yeah, because we should acknowledge that it exists.
Yeah. And it's been protecting us, thinking it is. But right now we're going to repattern you. Yeah. And so if I were going to work with this woman, it's, taking a look at, what does that, we don't go into the why. We just really kind of recognize, is that serving you? Would you love, and it's got to come from the person. Would you love to have, go up to the next level in your business so you can serve more people, right? We're here to serve. So that's just a great example.
Right. And the other thing that I think so many people are confused about is the work-life balance. And I always get a kick out of that, because I tell people that doesn't exist, because a balance is 50-50. whatever we're doing, it's not 50-50. Some days it's 90-10. Some days, I mean, it's the teeter-totter that's going woogity, woogity, woogity. And so I think that's why it's so important to realize that all of this ties together all the time. If we're happy in our home life, then we also want to be happy in our business life, and the other way around too. But that's why we see things like, if you're so unhappy in your business, then you're probably doing things in your personal life that are a result of that. You go home, you kick the dog, all of those various things. And so that is kind of where you do want to have, I mean, I don't want to use, it is kind of a balance, but it's just kind of an overall feeling.
I talk about harmony. I discovered this long ago. It's harmony,
Right.
But it's being aware. So one of my core things that I support my clients with is, it all starts with awareness, noticing what you're noticing.
Right.
So, when I'm working with people, we have 4 different areas of life. You're exactly right. We have the personal, professional, but your vocation, your health and wellness, your relationships, and then time and money freedom. And at any one time, there's 1 or 2 of them they're speaking for more that are out of balance,
Right.
or out of harmony. And so this is where we shine the light there to begin in that process. And they do. When you're, building in one and going to it's going to roll over to the next. And that was kind of one of the things that led me to what I was doing. I wasn't feeling like I was excelling. I was plateauing. And when we're not doing our highest level of what we know we can do, it was starting to impact my relationship, because I'm not as happy.
Right.
Kind of knew, with some background in all of this and as a therapist, that I'm responsible for my own happiness. I'm the responsible for taking care of that. And as I do that, this other piece will come.
Right.
But, I work with people in all those different areas, depending, and you're exactly right. Napoleon Hill, I love this, because you talked about the mind, body, and then when he studied successful people, you got to start with peace of mind, and then you got to have a healthy body. Those are the first 2 places where it starts, right? To have that, so we can be able to move further in what we do.
Right. And those 2 really do, they're very integrally tied to each other. Yes. You mentioned, that things weren't going right. And so physically you started having manifestations, that's why people have ulcers. Yeah. That's why, all these various things. I mean, and depending on what's going on, I mean, you can, people drive themselves into literally having heart attacks, and, all of those things. And so we need to make sure that it's in alignment. And when it's not, again, we have to pay attention to it. Okay. Gee, I keep having this, I get to mid-afternoon and I have headaches. Yeah. Why? Because there's a lot, is it the light? Is it this? Is it that you've for the 900th time, you've just had a bad customer, all of those things. And so that's, the whole awareness is, of course, the big piece about moving forward.
Absolutely. And I just recently was certified in the neuroscience for coaching and leadership, and understanding. So my original coaching is mindset, but we know that understanding how we use our mind, then when you know how to then use your mind to use your brain, is an amazing tool. Most of us don't know, right? But we can really use it. There's all sorts of amazing tools. But when we do that, we can, one of my big words is, we can pace ourselves, and understand. So, we all want to be working from, I'll use a big term, but it's like, we want to all be working from the CEO of our brain, the prefrontal cortex. We want to be coming from that place, as opposed to the lower brain. So the way we can do that, when we're, kind of talking about how to not have that headache at the end of the day, it's noticing and understanding, how do I take care of that CEO so it can do what it can do best. Right. And so many elements that I work with people to, it's about peak performance. And one of the key things is sleep. I actually say that's one of your best business tools.
Right. Yeah, I mean, these business leaders who brag that, I just do 4 hours of sleep a night. Yeah. My thought is, nah. Right. The body needs more sleep than that. Now, there are some that need 12 hours, some that need 6, right? But the 4s and the 3s, I'm thinking, no.
Yeah. In the long run, you're not functioning at your highest potential, because at night is the time we do our most thinking, and you gotta clear things out. And it's preparing you for the next day. And you can actually prime your brain before you go to sleep at night with, if there's something that you're, something you're trying to solve to do the next level in business, you can ask that question at night. What would be a step I could take that would really serve me in going higher? And what happens is the brain will go to work at night. And sometimes, my clients will wake up in the morning and go, it came to me.
Right.
They were proactively. The other key thing is to prime your brain with being more positive, thinking about what you're grateful for from the day, as opposed to, oh gosh.
Yeah, this went wrong and this went wrong and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah. Look at the wins and look what you're grateful for, because what's happening at night too, not to get too technical, but it's the brain is then taking all the things that you're thinking of and putting it into your short-term memory.
Right.
What do we want to have in our short-term memory that'll eventually go into long-term, right? So we have much more power in that whole process. The other thing is that we'll be more creative when we sleep better, all sorts of things. It's better for your body needs to recuperate. And
that's when your body recovers.
Exactly. And then the other thing I'll just share, kind of interesting is, we all have heard circadian rhythms. And we need to understand that we can, pay attention to them.
Right.
That paying attention as an entrepreneur, a solopreneur, or whatever you might be doing, that what times of the day am I most productive?
Right.
And put the big chunks of things that are going to use the CEO. He only has a certain amount of energy.
Right.
So it might be I find the morning works best for me. So I can by noon say, woohoo, I've done those things productively. And I've set that tone. The other thing is it's natural just for people to understand. It's part of the circadian rhythm in the afternoon for it to dip a little bit.
Right. And partially because we eat, your blood sugar goes up and down, all those various things.
And research shows that it's okay. Give yourself permission to have only a 20-minute nap.
Right.
20 minutes, because if you go more than that, you're
sluggish.
Yeah, you're disrupting the whole rhythm. So take that nap, and it's going to replenish your brain. Yeah.
Right.
Other things that support it is being sure you're really hydrated. We need much more.
Oh yeah, more. There's probably very few people who actually drink water as much as they should.
Exactly. 4 to 6 liters. People go like, what? But the brain is needing that. Right. The other thing is, especially during COVID, we sit at our computers or in front of the screen, and we know how important it is every hour, literally, to get up and move.
Right.
Give your brain needs to replenish. You yourself, your body, right? There's one of my peers who talks about get up and run in place for a minute.
Yeah, get your blood going.
All of that. So many things to support the brain and our minds to think at a higher level.
Right. And sunshine is also, a very important thing. Years ago, I worked for a government contractor. And we were a top secret government facility. You live near DC, you understand those things, right? And so this was in Colorado. And because of what we did, we had no windows because you didn't want anybody peering in and spying as to what you were doing, right? And so, that was fine. I mean, you got used to it. People hung up posters of, Tahiti and all those various things. But and so it was probably, now this is Colorado, January, February. Oh, people were cranky. And so we started researching it, and we discovered that what we were doing was throwing our circadian rhythms off because we were not getting sunshine. We went into that building, we worked for 8-10 hours. And then we came back out. But of course, in the winter, we went in when it was dark and we came out when it was dark. And so we weren't getting sunshine. And we actually mandated that people had to stop at some point during the day and go out and get 15 minutes of sunshine. And then we also replaced some of the lights and things like that. But of course, the best thing is obviously the natural thing, the real sun. But, it's also sometimes 20 degrees. So you don't want to do that. But yeah, I mean, it was just one of those things where, because we weren't getting that sunshine, our bodies kind of went, what the heck? And then our brains, played along with that.
Yeah. And all of that together, the other piece that then the moving, you can go and actually have a walk. Mm-hmm. And I also call it, this is such a fun thing to talk about, that I help my clients put daydreaming into their schedule.
Mm-hmm. Right. Have fun.
Yes. Mm-hmm. And the fun and all of that. But the daydreaming is when you don't have to be focusing on what's the next task and all of that. You're literally, going into the right side of the brain, the creative side of the brain, and letting it kind of piece things together. You're actually going to be more creative and do problem solving when you're releasing. You're releasing and letting the brain kind of digest and put things together. So I love that, right? Let's go have daydreaming time, having, mindfulness and all the meditations, all of those things, all support that, that when we just keep going, we only have a certain amount of energy. Yeah.
Right. And even if what we're doing is what we like, your brain still needs kind of that off time.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you bring up a good point, Deb. Again, kind of the research shows, and that's partly, I didn't know this until, I was studying the neuroscience. I kind of did, but right, we want to be working in our passion. And actually research shows that ideally for us to have overall health, to live our best life, we want to be doing the 80-20 thing. 80% in our passion, 20% in what we have to do.
Okay.
So think about it, right? For people who are in jobs that they don't love, they're doing the 80, maybe 90% in that, and the toll that's taking on them. And what happens is the other 20%, what research kind of shows too, is that you're seeking for something else, and you can lead into other things that aren't so good for you.
Right.
Different boredom is like the next, it's like cancer when you get into that and has those symptoms. So we want to find, the passion and be sure in all areas of our lives. Yeah.
Right. And we've really heard that in, the last 2 years with COVID, people really went, is this what I want to be doing? And I think a big part of that was when they were forced to go home. Yeah. And they went, ooh, now that obviously had all of its own stresses. Yeah. Your kids might have been there. Your Wi-Fi might not have been good. I talked to somebody who said they did not have a nice desk chair. They were seated in like a hard kitchen chair. And part of it was, we all kept thinking, oh yeah, we're going to go back to work. But when we got used to it, so many people went, ooh, I like this. I was just talking about this yesterday with a group of friends, and I said, I don't put shoes on. And pants, right? We're all in shorts or sweats. We wear something nice from the waist up when we know we're going to Zoom. Otherwise, we're like, whatever. But talk to us about how, the pandemic has really been a good thing for our minds to kind of have this reset.
Oh, absolutely. I think people realized how much time they were spending maybe on the road.
Right.
I call it the big wake-up call.
I know. Yeah. People went, oh my God, I was spending 2 hours a day in a car.
Exactly. And so they're real. And the other thing, right, I call COVID, in my work, we say, we have sacred friends. Sacred friends are here. They're not sacred in like friendly. They're things that we don't want necessarily to come to us, but they're here. And when we tune into, what gifts are they bringing? How is this expanding me? This is, I was doing a lot of, webinars around this. What are the golden nuggets that came from COVID? What was happening within that?
Right.
This is what people, wake up call. What is it? What is that dream? That thing that I always wanted to do that I pushed down, and maybe there's a possibility of, bringing that out and trying it out as well. So it was allowing people to really realize that, more of the possibility, and we don't know what tomorrow. It brought our longevity a little bit more close to home.
Right.
Like today's the day.
Yeah.
You don't know what tomorrow. So more of that urgency, because so many people get lost in, oh, I had this dream. but timing's not right.
I'll do it later.
Yeah.
I want to start my own company, but I'll do it later.
Yes. And right, the people who also go into retirement, they've waited to have their awesome vacations and all that. And if they haven't been taken care of, sometimes health comes in and then they're not able to. So, COVID has been that time, and we're seeing it, of people kind of trying some new things. I think I heard a statistic that 40% of new businesses that are out there and that have happened during COVID are women
Right.
that they're taking advantage of that, recognizing that, and understanding, right? Going back to your harmony or your balance. What? Being at home, I can create more of that harmony, more of the balance. And how can I do that? So opening up to more possibility of what that might look like and doing that. So
now we also saw, because we had the Great Resignation, and now I think, and I saw this the other day, somebody called it the now what?
yes.
And that's what happened. People went, this is not good for me. I want to make a change. And so they did without planning. It was just they quit and then went, ooh, oops.
Yes.
And so what do you say to people like that? Because there are there's so many people who just COVID, not COVID, we go, I'm not doing this anymore, but we really don't know what it is that we want to do. So how do people get that clarity and know this is the next step in my life?
Great question. And you're kind of coming into my wheelhouse here in terms of one of the kind of key kind of clients that I work with, and the work that I do is helping people get clarity.
Right.
So I work with people who are, in that transition, and I have a whole system of a simple question I'm going to put out there that I have them begin with is, what would I love? What would I love? How many times have we ever asked ourselves this?
Right.
And when
because we say, what would I like to do?
Yes. So the difference, beautiful. The difference is, the other one is, what can I do?
Right. And so we've immediately put limitations.
There you go. You're on it. Yeah. I call it condition-based thinking. What can I do with the skills that I have right now? As opposed to, what would I really love to be doing? Now, this is where we step into possibility thinking. Now, we're not just pie in the sky, like, ooh, just
right. Yeah. I would love to be living on an island.
Yeah.
Well, okay, no, we still.
Well, I'm going to kind of put a little thing in. That's a possibility, but the how comes later. You got to know, and Napoleon Hill says the same thing. You got to know, begin with the end in mind. So I have a whole process that I support people in that whole idea of just beginning to pay attention in those 4 areas of life, what I love, and trick the brain by thinking 3 years out. So your brain doesn't go, you can't do that. And then they start listing it. You got to know that piece. And then I always talk about, you got to be really crystal clear and have images of it, and what it would feel like, I said, a whole system for that. And then so we can come up with our clarity. And I offer, times for people to do that. But the other piece that I love is that we're going to test that. We're going to test this dream that you're thinking about. And there's 5 pieces to the test that I think are so important. First of all, does it bring me life? Do I love this idea? Because unless we have passion, we're not going to have the fuel. If you're shifting to an entrepreneur, you're not going to have the fuel to go forward if it isn't that.
Right. Because being an entrepreneur is hard.
I have a whole thing I can talk about with that, shifting from the 9 to 5 to entrepreneur. The second one is, does it align with my core values? Does this, because if it's not, you're not going to do it. And then does it require me to grow? Do I need help from however,
whatever, financial, education, whatever it is.
Yeah. And the last one is there good in it for others? Right. We know that this is the trend, wake up call in COVID. It's not all about us. Pay attention to how we can serve, how we can take, that's what I'm seeing. I that perspective here. What is it that I can bring in what I love to the world? And when all those things are aligned, then, in the work I do, we then, you got to have support.
Right.
And that's why there's a big coach kind of arena, is to expedite and help that learning curve and that transition to knowing the how, all sorts of different kind of coaching and business coaches and all to support you in a new endeavor that you haven't done before.
Right.
Okay. Yeah.
And it's interesting. I just flashed on the fact that for so many people, putting themselves first, thinking about, the good of others, all those things is very different. Baby boomers, that's us, right at the very end there. But, and obviously the generations before, it was you go to work,
right.
You do what you're supposed to do. And what do you mean you don't like it? That's not an option.
Right.
And I catch myself still doing that, okay. I always remember the commercial, and I really am dating myself here, with the donut commercial where the little dude gets up like at 2 a.m, gotta make the donuts. Gotta make the donuts. I'm gonna have to find that at some point. Because it really was, he just had to go and make the donuts. Now, and 2 a.m, but if he had thought about that and thought, I see the joy that someone gets when they bite into that hot, delicious donut, or the birthday party. I mean, all of those various things. But it is a mind shift for people to really, and especially women, to really think, I need to put myself first. And we're not saying, okay, your kids aren't going to eat, or, you still have things you have to do. But, how do you get people over that hump of the fear, that little inner voice saying, what the heck do you mean? How do we get past all of that to really start going, I can do this?
Yeah, well, I was going to help with a simple rephrasing. The guy with the donut, I have to get up. In the reality, there is a have to, but
right. But there's a I get to.
But I get to, I choose to, when we reframe it. And then, like you said, put the why behind it. Then that creates, you're going to go in serving at a higher level, and you're going to feel much better. Now, I'm going to kind of put a little piece in here. So maybe that's not his lifetime goal. Maybe COVID, I'm just kind of bringing it in as maybe during COVID, he's realizing, okay, this has been good enough for now, but I've always wanted to do this. So we're not saying like, give up, what.
Right. Yeah. Keep making the donuts until you can move on.
But I'm coming from that mindset perspective, at that highest level, you're going to act as if you're in, after he's kind of created that vision of what the next step is, what he would really love, you're going to put it on like now. As if it's already happening. So you're already in that energy, because the brain doesn't know the difference between what's real or not real.
Right. It only knows what gets fed into it.
Yeah. And it's like actors preparing for a movie. They're putting on that role as if it's, and then the whole body goes, oh, this is what Daniel Day-Lewis is doing to prepare for Lincoln. And I am Lincoln. Coming from that, this is what we're doing with this, kind of next step. Of this is what I would love. And then putting that, who is that person? So I talk a lot about, you got to up level your self-image to do that. And it starts with, what you're saying, how you're holding yourself. Even when I was in direct selling, going to that next level in business, it's as simple as, how do you walk? How do you talk? What are you wearing? And when you do that, literally, that it's proven, the cells of recognition, your cells are rewiring for you.
It's doing the power poses, all of those various things.
Yes, there's so many beautiful, kinds of things. And when I'm working with clients in the morning, this is such a powerful tool. They're visiting their vision. They're stepping into being that woman, that man who's doing the thing that they absolutely love. And as opposed to just writing your to-do list, who am I going to be today? Coming from that, I'm going to be that. It might even be like, I'm going to be calm and confident today. I'm stepping into, I'm going to be the CEO of my own life today.
Right.
The CEO of so it's, and when you start doing that, again, you're going to go through your day at a different level. Did I kind of answer your question?
Yeah. And it's about that mindset, while realizing we do have to be practical. We can't just sell everything and move to that island. But it is about knowing what those goals are. And as you were talking, I was remembering, I was working with a group of students, college students one time, and they were seniors. And so, I was talking to them about LinkedIn and all those various things. And I told them, I said, I want y'all to get business cards. And I want you to put on there what you want to be. And I said, this was, when I haven't given out a business card and I don't even know if I have business cards, right. But this was back when we all had them and we all handed them out, and you can get them cheap, right? I told them, I said, this is not a big expense. So then I made them go around and say what they future wanted to do. And I said, yes, you do whatever, but you're doing it to make that goal. And I said, but here's the important thing, because you never know who's tied in. And so I get to this one young lady and she said, and I said, what do you want? And she said, I'm going to put on mine, future White House press secretary. And I said, good for you. And I said, but I'm going to tell you something. I said, guess who I met yesterday? A White House press secretary. Mm-hmm. And I said, so now I'm going to put the two of you in contact. And I mean, so it's kind of that when you put it out into the world, things start happening.
And this is a whole system. You're exactly right, of how it starts with here, but then you figure out you've tested the dream, and then you're fueling it with a burning desire every day. You're going to fuel that passion. And we know, and it's proven across we send out a frequency then of, it's quantum physics that's, yep. And then, but you have to be then aware of, you put it out there and your mind's focused there. So it's going to look for, we have a yes system. It's looking for the things that line up for what you're looking for, but you got to be aware again, right? And then expect it. So just like, that was a beautiful example of, she was putting that energy out and just, it all lined up. You can't.
I mean, it was just this weird fluke. I was like, whoa.
But the universe is powerful, but you are the one directing that. When you understand that we have the land of facts with our five senses, but we have mental faculties and that's stepping into your genius zone. I can share more about that. But so burning desire, fueling where you want to go, being aware, expecting. That's the other thing.
Right.
And believing. This is a big piece that I work a lot with people on. You can have these dreams and everything, but if you're going to go, and you shut it down or you don't fuel it.
Silly you.
Yeah, exactly. You're cutting off the flow.
That little inner voice went again.
Yeah, it's cutting off that flow. So that's what and then the thing comes along, and then you got to grab it and then get into action. We're not just dreaming.
Right.
It's what's one step. Okay, this came across my, so your action, connecting her with the press secretary, and then going from there. So action, and then consistently doing it. And then that keeps you at, it gives you the next step.
Right. Yeah. And it's funny. I don't even remember the young woman's name, so I have no idea what happened. But, I do know that one of the things that they told her was, okay, you need more education. And so, and because I think she had a degree in communications, and they said, okay, you really do need, if not a degree, you need training in political science. I mean, there's, and so this person said, here are some more of the things that you need to be doing. And so that kind of helped her along with that. And I think, you mentioned the word before, and I think it's absolutely critical for anybody, no matter what stage of their career, and that's mentor.
Yes.
That person is going to help keep you focused on that path, as long as you've been honest with them.
Yeah, absolutely. I always talk about having someone to come alongside you on your journey. It's going to, I always talk about, we are pictures in a frame. We have blinders on. We don't know those, going back to those paradigms, we don't know what is coming in. And so having, whether it's a coach or in my system that I, coach people with, I have what I call partners in believing. There's accountability partners, of course, that keep you on track with the goals, but the partners in believing bring in a different dimension of, one of them is that they believe you're letting them know what your vision is. And they're in that same mindset as well. You want people that are in that same mindset, that are going to hold you and help you, not hold literally, but keep you in the focus of, when we have our moments, that they're going to say, I totally believe in you. You
Mm-hmm.
absolutely can do this. And then I teach a whole system of, we know about masterminding. I have a
Mm-hmm.
whole system of the steps when you're aligned with that. Because we're not here to do this alone.
Right.
Especially when we're moving into maybe an entrepreneurial
Mm-hmm.
kind of role. I had so many people when I was leading as a leader in direct selling who would fall off because they didn't know, right? The
Mm-hmm.
system of how do you make that
Mm-hmm.
transition, or the fear came up and, oh, this is too uncomfortable. So having
Mm-hmm.
a system of support
Mm-hmm.
is crucial. And what it's going to do, I love this phrase from my mentor, collapse time. Who would like to collapse
Mm-hmm.
time in this process,
Mm-hmm.
moving into something new that, just like with anything, is going to
Mm-hmm.
take more time, but having mentors, having, support really makes a difference.
Mm-hmm. Right. And it's so important to not be going it alone. And as much as COVID has hurt us, I think one of the cool things is we've really expanded our networks. I mean,
Yes.
it's not, we don't have to have someone who is in our physical location to be working with us, whether it's mentor, mastermind, whatever all those various roles are, because we're able now to really find somebody for that good match.
And I kind of chuckling because I said sleep is like the number one thing, but the social interaction.
Mm-hmm.
I present with these groups on transitioning and the
Mm-hmm.
transition mindset, but I say at the end, you got to be connecting socially.
Mm-hmm.
The feeling that the brain gets, I love the statistic, is when you meet with someone for coffee, and I think it does still
Mm-hmm.
even count across the screen, is this if you gave yourself $100,000 raise.
Mm-hmm.
It's like powerful that
Right.
uplift in your body,
Mm-hmm.
and it's going to help you be more creative.
Mm-hmm.
All of those things. It's like giving yourself
Right.
a supplement.
Mm-hmm.
So there's that, and then truly, just having fun,
Mm-hmm.
in the whole process is supportive. One of the things that COVID, in some ways has done is, right, it highlights the isolation
Right. Mm-hmm.
issue, and I know I was much more aware of reaching out because I
Mm-hmm.
knew we're at home, and
Mm-hmm.
there's people who are single or have lost a spouse, and when we're in isolation and we're not connecting, it's as bad as smoking 2 packs of cigarettes a day.
Right. Yeah. Your body is just, and the fact that it
Yeah.
was forced isolation.
Yes.
I mean, that was and so unexpected. I
Right.
mean, many people were at work on Friday and they weren't at work
Yes.
on Monday.
Exactly. And all
And
mental health issues. So you're
yeah,
exactly right.
yeah.
Yes. So, yep, we're having to shift all the way
Mhm.
around and pay attention.
Right.
Yeah.
And it is a challenge. I haven't been to an in-person networking event since before COVID. Just because things got canceled that week that I would have been going to. And so it was the prior month. So February of 2020 is the last time I really did a lot of things. And I think back and I look at all of these things and it's like, okay, because they're doing them again, and have been for many, many months.
Mhm.
But it's, one of my issues is the fact that I have health concerns. So for me to go and be with people who aren't masked, who, aren't socially distancing, all of those things, there's just a little bit of risk there. And now I'm like, it's too peoply out there. But I am very clearly a social person. And so it's like, okay, I'm not going to these. And so what am I replacing them with? And one of the things that I did was fairly early on in, when in the pandemic, was we created an online networking group. And it really was just how the heck are you doing? And then we expanded it into, types of, we had people who were speakers and all of those. And then it kind of faded away as we got back into kind of our routines again. But that comes back to the whole self-awareness thing. I recognize that I can't have the conversations with my cat. I need to talk to a person about it. But dealing with those issues, okay, can I go be in person? Okay, then let's find something else.
And you're exactly right. And everybody respecting each other's, what feels right, and respecting your own. And my mentor always says, we don't take something away without replacing it
Right. Mm-hmm.
with something, that's going to serve you. Because if
Mm-hmm.
we, I talk about repatterning an
Mm-hmm.
old belief, if we don't replace it with something that we love, what's going to happen is that something else that's similar to that not so good belief is going to seep back in. So, so what we're really talking about here is also that COVID has helped us with is creativity.
Right.
How important that is in everything, which, I was talking about before, we have land of five senses, but we have an imagination. It's a mental faculty that truly, people might not label it or be aware that that's what they're doing, but right, the imagination can either serve us and help us, or it can really take it the other way. It's our thinking. So, because everything starts with our thinking, and then it comes into, the feeling that we're having. And so we use, during COVID, we're stepping into, how can I still do what I love, but do it in a way that's safe and all of that. So I always use the example too of the caterpillar, right? The caterpillar moving to the butterfly, it goes through a struggle. If you take that, the whatever it's called, the cocoon off too early, like a kid might go, oh, let's help it. It hasn't strengthened itself and used its muscles. We need to build our muscles to get that off to then be able to fly. So one of the things I say is remembering that any, challenge that we're going through is when we use the perspective, this is preparing me for the next level, it makes a huge difference. It's kind of getting that perspective, because we don't build muscle with small weights, right? The other thing that just popped in, that kind of helps with all of this is any situation or any challenge that we have. We've been talking about COVID, talking about, the transition going to something we don't, is to neutralize whatever situation, you neutralize it so that this is just how it is. In transition, this is what it looks like while it's all coming together. And because if we put like, oh my gosh, this is so hard, this is like challenging, the brain's going, okay, let's look for all the hardness, right? That's helping. We get to choose how we frame them. And wouldn't it be better to frame it that, okay, this is how it is. And I know that go back to that higher level thinking, using the imagination, there's a way that I'm going to work with this and it's going to serve me. Does that make sense?
It does. And it was funny because I had on my little list to ask you, how do we build resiliency? And that's exactly what you're talking about. And now I get a kick out of the people who say, I can't wait for things to go back to normal, as in January of 2020. And I'm like, ain't gonna happen. And there's so many reasons why. But yeah, so we need to accept that it's not going back to January of 2020. So how do we function now? So building resiliency is so very critical.
And knowing what the having clarity on where you're going. So many people just really don't, and so it makes this whole process really chaotic.
It's kind of I know what I don't want, but I don't know what I do want.
Exactly. When we don't, right? We're creating a life anyway. Creating it, we might go into the Groundhog Day, year after year, the same. We didn't learn. One of my mentors talks about most people don't know how to think. They don't know how to put ideas together to like take a look at what could I do differently this year that will take. This is again the work that I do, so that I can go to that next level. So knowing where you're going is going to help how to stay consistent and build resilience and understanding. I call it the entrepreneur journey. That when we're going through new things, initially all those fears in the brain is kind of going woo, the alarms are going off.
We get the yabbits. Yeah, but
and when we understand that, you know what, okay, this is happening, and actually kind of reframe it and say good news. So good news, that means I'm growing. And I get to befriend fear. That's a different thing. I get to befriend it. Thank you. That means I'm going on my cutting edge. And then I shared the thing before about how do you navigate through that so you can repattern. Then, we're on our way to where we want to go. I call it, the hero's journey. And I'm not sure if you're familiar with Joseph Campbell. He talked about the hero's journey. And there's all the things along the way. But the journey was a chapter in your book. COVID is a chapter in
Right.
your book, not the whole story, unless you decide it to be. Right? There are plenty of people who,
Right.
all right, you know, a woman. I was on a panel just yesterday, just a quick example. She's promoting, weight loss, and so many people gain so much.
Right. We got the COVID-19s.
Yeah. Looking at all the statistics about, okay, now people aren't paying attention to that. So in the long and short of it, she's looking at all this stuff out there and going, I can't do it. That's why I'm sitting here at the beach. And I went, cancel, cancel, cancel. It's good that you're at the beach, because what does the beach do? It helps you step into your imagination.
But if it's the last recourse,
yes,
then no.
Yes. So it's understanding that and recognizing, I'm being tested and thinking in a different way in all of that to be able to continue going on. And then the resilience, kind of rewarding yourself, recognizing all the steps you're taking. I call it celebrate and integrate. What are the steps I'm doing each day? Good job. I took a step. I called the person that it's scary to call, it's, I made it to this particular thing.
And we're not saying run a marathon, folks.
No. And then you're integrating, you're creating a new self-image of yourself that I've got this, I'm doing this, I'm in action. It's such an important piece of building yourself to that next level. If we just kind of go along and don't pay attention to what we're, all the steps we're taking, we're missing it. Right. We're not growing ourselves.
Right.
So.
Well, oh my gosh, Tamara, this has been such a fun conversation. We just scratched the surface. So it just means that we need to have you on again. But tell people how they find you and what are the services that you provide.
Absolutely. So I keep it simple. I mean, through, my text, you can text 571-276-5241. I respond to that. I have a website where there's a link to having a clarity session. And I'm imagining do you want me to say it now or it's coming out?
Go ahead.
Yeah, it's just www.tamarawolfe.life mastery consultant. It's very long. lifemasteryconsultant.com.
And Wolf has an E.
Exactly. Wolf has an E. I'm on LinkedIn and as well. So, and what I offer initially, I work with solopreneurs, business owners, business leaders, who are at that place of feeling stuck, want to go to the next level, know there's more. And I have clarity sessions. And what we do in those clarity sessions is truly that, getting clear on where you are now, where you're having what I call longing and discontent. And we hone in on that. And then we begin helping you get real, build that vision for what's next. And then from there, I give my support and my feedback. The actual services are absolutely helping you with knowing where you're going. We spend a lot of time with the clarity, and I have a proven, reliable system of incorporating mindset tools, neuroscience tools that helps you repattern and go through the journey of the gap between where you are and where you want to go.
Right.
And what's beautiful about this system is that you can use it over and over and over again. And I'm right there with helping with accountability. We're focused on your results, helping you get the results you absolutely would love. And I do that one-to-one virtually or in small groups. And, it's a beautiful process. And I offer webinars for kind of, getting ideas about, samples of what I do in a smaller way.
Perfect. I love it. I love it. Well, this has been such a fun discussion. And, and as I always say, if we're not right mentally, it's not going to matter anything that we do. I mean, we could win. What is the jackpot on the big thing? $790 million. That would be fun, right? Wow. But if it's not going to matter in the slightest if we don't know where we want to go and have the clarity of thought to be able to get there. So I think it's just so important. And so I hope that people will reach out to you. But until then, do you have any final thoughts for everyone?
Well, truly, the whole idea of living life by design,
Mm-hmm.
not by default, that you have much more power in really creating the life that you would absolutely love in all aspects.
Mm-hmm.
And there are you're equipped with all of that already.
Mm-hmm.
You have amazing power within you. And when you understand and learn how to use that at the highest sense, truly anything that you're thinking and dreaming of, you can make it happen. And learning and the skills can truly make that happen. We only get one life.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So live it at your highest level.
Mm-hmm.
Know that there are ways to make that happen, and you're powerful.
Perfect. I love it. What a great thought to end on. Well, I'm Deb Creer. I've been having a delightful, wonderful discussion with Tamara Wolfe. And until next time, everyone have a great day.
Tune in for our next program for even more trends, best practices, and techniques for how to make your business a success. The Business Power Hour, hosted by Deb Creer, is proud to be part of the C-Suite Network.